All right, this is Monday, June 12th, 6 p.m. This is the regular scheduled monthly meeting of the McDowell County Board of Education. And the meeting's here now called to order. And so the first item of business this evening is to approve the agenda. And is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Ms. Mumal makes the motion. Ms. Poupeau makes the second. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor? And the motion carries. Our next item on the agenda, item 3, we have begun a tradition of having a moment of silence before we begin our meetings, and we'd like to invite you folks to join with us for a moment. May we? Thank you all. The next item will be our pledge to the flag. And before we do that, let me just, for a note of housekeeping, I know several folks that enjoy our meetings on YouTube, and they say that they have trouble hearing if the person is not speaking directly into the microphone. So if the board does address the public or makes comments this evening, please speak directly into the microphone so the folks at home can make out what it is we're talking about. We'll move along then, and next is our pledge to the flag. And I'd like to ask Colonel Brian Oliver, our interim superintendent, to lead us this evening. Would you stand?
Place the flag. Attention. Salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks, sir.
You're welcome. What is the proper term? At ease?
That's a good term, sir.
All right. Okay.
Parade rest would be better.
well, we're not standing though. Okay. I'm going to ask Mr. Oliver to continue with item 5 this evening, which is administrative reports, and you folks will figure out pretty quickly that there's just a whole lot to being superintendent.
It is, and it's almost all good. Almost all good. All right, so since our last meeting, we had our leadership team meeting at Nebo Elementary. We rotate that to a different school each month, and it's a great opportunity for all the district leaders to visit each of our schools. Had the opportunity to attend the legislative breakfast, which was hosted by the McDowell Economic Development Association and the Chamber of Commerce. That was held at the Carson House, Arboretum. It's a great event. Mr. Abernathy had a big part in that event as well. We had our senior walks at all the elementary sites, and that's a chance for our seniors who are graduating to go back to their home school and have a small parade in the school, march through the halls, and speak to 5th grade students normally. So it's a great event, great opportunity for our seniors and our 5th graders. I think they also went to the middle schools this year too, so 8th graders too. We attended the McDowell Early College and MAI graduations at East Middle. Great turnouts. Appreciate the board members who were there. Thank you. And the staff members who were there. Thank you for being there. 2 great ceremonies. We hosted our final parent advisory meeting of the year. That's a great group. I encourage anyone who's here, if you're a parent who'd like to be involved, that's a really good way to be involved for your school. You could represent your school on the parent advisory. So if you're interested in something like that, you could talk with the principal and let them know that that's something you'd be interested in doing. We had our beginning teacher end of the year celebration, and Ms. Alyssa Knight did a great job putting that together. And our staff as a whole always pulls together and works hard for each of these events. So it was a really nice event for our beginning teachers. The following day, we had our Teacher of the Year celebration. And our Teacher of the Year celebration this year was at Glenwood Baptist Church. And it was Ms. Dowdle's first opportunity to put that together as the Director of Human Resources. Great job. It was a wonderful event. And we'll be recognizing our Teacher of the Year at a later time. But Ms. Mary Ann Basney was named our District Teacher of the Year the following day. And you'll be meeting her in July. She'll be present and announced at the July board meeting. Had the opportunity, well, I went out of order, sorry about that. Joint Utility Committee meeting was the same day as Teacher of the Year. And then the following day, we notified and announced our Teachers of the Year. Our most special students, our occupational program course of study students, had their senior presentations here in the boardroom on the Friday, that same Friday that we did the Teacher of the Year announcements. And that's a wonderful event every year. Those presentations are awesome. You would be so proud of our students who come through the OCS program and receive their graduation certificate at the end of the school year. Had a great Rotary discussion with Mr. Chip Cross and shared that opportunity. There's a new opportunity with Rotary that you can have a limited commitment, but still be members of the Rotary and still serve. And we shared that out with our staff members at each school, and hopefully some of our folks will be interested in that. And if you're interested in that, look into it. Had a great discussion with Toby Bramlett, the Executive Director of the YMCA. The YMCA does tons of things for the school district, and we have a great partnership with them. Very thankful for that. I was able to attend a roundtable budget discussion with Governor Cooper. That was up in Asheville, and a really good discussion. There were 3 superintendents there and lots of local legislative folks from Buncombe County, and also some Chamber of Commerce folks from Buncombe County, and the city of Asheville. But that was a very good discussion. And some of those points you've heard in the press, I'm sure, and read about the governor's stance on support for public schools in the coming budget. So hopefully we'll have to see some good feedback on that. We had our 2023 McDowell County Schools retiree celebration at Old Fort School. Great event. I appreciate, again, all the board members who attended. We had a great turnout, and all the hard work by the staff who put that together and did a great job. So last Friday was early release day for students, if you didn't know. I think everyone knew. And that's a great day for everyone. I think the staff gets just as excited, if not more, about that day than the students. And a great day. And then Friday night was our McDowell High School graduation. Wonderful turnout, perfect weather for graduation. And the ceremony seemed to go off without a hitch. I appreciate everyone who showed up, especially our board members. Great showing. Thank you for being there. And then today we had our end of the year cookout for all McDowell County school staff, and had a good turnout. We always did that at the commons area of the high school. It's just kind of a thank you from the administration and the board to our staff at every school, and also in our support sections. So very thankful to be able to do that, and it's always a great event. Everyone who attends, I think, enjoys that time of fellowship. And if you don't know, graduation for, I didn't put this on, but the McDowell Virtual Academy graduation is tomorrow night at 6. So we'll be attending that as well. Sir, that's all for the reports this month.
All right. Well, Mr. Oliver, would you continue on then? Item 6 is student recognitions, and item 7 is staff recognitions. Would you lead those, please?
Yes, sir, I will. I'm going to ask Ms. Elliott to join me, because she is the lady in charge of this part tonight. Okay, so I do want to say one quick thing. So if you were here last month or if you watched it on YouTube, you saw we had a ton of recognitions last month. And so with everything that we had scheduled, I contacted Ms. Elliott because she has a lot of folks that are going to be recognized tonight, and duly so. And I asked her if she was willing to move all of hers to the June meeting so that we could just bring all of FCS at one time and kind of make the May meeting feasible and manageable. And she graciously agreed to do that. So that's why tonight is FCS night.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Oliver, members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity this evening to celebrate and recognize just a fraction, this tiny little part of the great things that are happening at FCS. Tonight, we would like to recognize members of several winning teams in different categories. So I have Ms. Gunter here. She's representing Science Olympiad. I have Ms. Petit, who is representing our grant writing team, which is staff members. Then I have Ms. Chapman, who is representing the Soil and Water Conservation Essay team. She worked with those students. And then Ms. Gramer, Ms. Britta Gramer, she was with our Future Cities team. And so I'm going to let them introduce our students and talk about what all they accomplished. Ms. Gunter.
Yes, we certainly really appreciate the opportunity to share what our students have achieved and accomplished. So for those of you that don't know, Science Olympiad is a national academic competition. So much like the word Olympics, where in athletics, the United States would take a team of athletes to compete as a team, the individual parts of that team compete in specialized events. So similarly, the Science Olympiad academic event, we take and field a team of 15 students, and those students compete in 23 different events. So the students themselves focus on 2 to 3 events that they specialize in as part of the team event. So we were lucky enough to have Mr. Childers, who couldn't be here tonight, work with us on our team, and we fielded 2 individual teams, a varsity team and a junior varsity team. And so those students compete in events kind of in 3 categories. So the first would be like an academic event where they would take a test on a topic such as rocks and minerals or anatomy and physiology, forestry. There are lab events, so where they would go in and try and solve a crime or do some biology lab activities or a science experiment. And then there are building events where our students have requirements to build like a plane or bottle rockets or cars. And so the Science Olympiad framework gives them rules and regulations on how that competition is going to work. And so we took those 2 teams. They began to specialize in their events in the fall. And then we compete regionally in the Asheville region in February. So we took both of our teams to Asheville. Our junior varsity team placed first out of 5 junior varsity teams competing. And our varsity team finished third out of 15 total varsity teams competing. So the opportunity for our varsity team in finishing in the top 3 allowed the entire team to travel to Raleigh to the state competition held at North Carolina State University. Sorry, go back. So that was a lot of fun for me to take those students to the campus. We spent the night and all day competing all around campus. So they competed against students from all across the state who did, all of those teams competed and successfully finished in the top in their individual regional events. And so at the end of that competition in Reynolds Coliseum, you know, those students get lots of fanfare, and it's an amazing event. And teams, the individual student pairs that competed and placed in the top 10 in the state of North Carolina are awarded with medals. So we had 4 different events out of 23 that our students placed in the top 10. So in 5th place, in an event called Write It, Do It, we had Caitlin and Kirsten Tippy. They're traveling and couldn't be here. We placed 6th in Bottle Rockets, and so that's Gracie Petit and Neela Fountain. In 7th place, our Rocks and Minerals team, which is Makeda Riddle and Gracie Petit. And then in an event called Mission Possible, which is like a Rube Goldberg machine, we had Gracie Petit and Brantley Gelman. So we really are appreciating the opportunity to really celebrate these students.
wish to just speak briefly about
Yes,
their
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Please. Just speak in the microphone, though.
So my event was called Bottle Rockets, and I did it with this wonderful person here named Gracie Petit, and I could have not done this event without her. Basically, it's an event where you design a bottle rocket, and you have to use basically a bottle to build a rocket that shoots up in the sky, and you can test it at your school, and you do multiple tests on it. And we went to regionals, and we actually placed first in regionals, and then moved on to state and got a time of like 12.99 seconds or something, like 12.99 I think it was, and then 13.96 at the state, and we placed 6th overall.
Since McHayden is my other partner for Rocks and Minerals, I'm going to talk about Mission Possible, which it's kind of impossible. So you have this set of rules that they give you, and you have to build some device that follows those rules and guidelines. And you had to get a marble to go through a little course and somehow hit something to launch a red flag. And me and Brantley, we had some trouble with it. We were walking to our event. He dropped it. Oh no, we didn't know what to do. So we got to the gym area where they were holding it, and we put it back together, and we were like, Brantley, just do our best. We've got this. Who cares what place we make? It's just about, we had fun in doing it. And so we did it. The judges scored it. They said, well, it's pretty good, blah, blah, yada, yada. And then we got to Reynolds Coliseum, and they did Mission Possible. And, me and him were sitting next to each other. We're like, we're not going to get it. And then they call our names, and we're like totally shocked. So we go up there and get our award. So
So my event with Gracie over here was Rocks and Minerals, and basically in that event you have to study different rocks and minerals from a binder, a book, whatever you have on hand. You put a lot of effort into researching it, trying to memorize all the stuff, and then during competition you take this binder and the book and a bunch of other materials and test out different rocks, minerals to kind of figure out what they are, and then you write it all down on a little piece of paper and just work hard to kind of like figure out what everything is. You have a bunch of different samples. How many were there? Like 15, I think? Yeah, 15, 20, something like that. And then basically all you have to do is just, what do we do? Yeah, it's like a blur. We did a lot of guessing, basically. And we didn't finish everything, but we did a good chunk of it. And we got up there, Reynolds Coliseum, award ceremony time. We were so unsure of ourselves, we didn't think we were going to place it all. But luckily, we heard our names called, and we walked up there just as shocked as she was. And it was overall a good experience. I would do it again.
Yeah, nice. Maybe let's not use the word guess.
No.
It's really a testament, these students, like with Mission Possible, and there's about 5 other events where they actually, there's a bound, but they don't know the parameters that they'll be judged on until they actually show up that morning. And so they sort of have to prepare whatever it is that they're doing, so that when they get there, they've got data and research to go with them. And even with the study events like Rocks and Minerals, they do a lot of research. It's really both about identification, but it's pulling that knowledge from everything that they're doing in their everyday science classes, so that when they're asked these questions that may not have studied for specifically, but they have sort of knowledge that they can pull from what they know about those pieces, what they learned, to make an educated guess.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, we're gonna give you guys your certificates and let you stand, okay?
How nice.
Brantley is not here. Brantley Bowman. Noah Fountain.
Where are you now? Come over here, buddy.
Oh, come up here.
Come to the front so we
Come
can get all
on.
of them.
We'll need a group shot.
You're gonna get a group picture. Sorry.
And Gracie Petit.
Hi, Gracie. So if you guys, so the board can see the other students, if you'll sit on this front row right now, and then we'll have you stand back up, okay?
Mom and Dad get their picture? All
Did you
right.
get their pictures?
I'm just curious to know of you three, what do you think about Raleigh and NC State? You ready to go to college there? Why not?
You thought, okay.
Great.
Okay, we got one.
NC State to me, it's a great school. I like their basketball team, but they don't have the stuff that I'm exactly looking for there.
Okay.
So I think like Chapel Hill or like
Okay. Yes.
That's why we have
Nice.
more than one college.
Oh, I like that. Good thought process.
Thank you.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Okay. To follow these young scholars is a lot, but I'll try.
Okay.
The scholars that I had to work this year toward the soil and water conservation, both essay and speech contest. This is, our district has been in existence for about 75 years. This is a part of the U.S. Department of Agriculture and the North Carolina Department of Agriculture. They actually give quite a bit of money to schools when we know about them to ask for it. So I've made some connections and I'm asking. And this is actually a contest that I was familiar with because I was in it as a seventh grader at West McDowell Junior High. So when this opportunity came to me, I said, okay, I'll help. I also had Beverly Foster in my ear saying, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. And so she's a great family friend and was over the Soil and Water Conservation District in our area for years and years. So she helped me with it as well. But we had 3 students to win first, second, and third from FCS for our district for essay contest. One of those was Cassandra Perez. I'm sorry, I was looking at Gracie. The essay contest is just for 6th graders, and it is statewide. Cassandra won 2nd place, and she was the only essay contestant winner that was able to be with us tonight. Several others are traveling. We also had 1st place was Natalie Carswell, and 3rd place was Theo Browning. These are students that were actually in my environmental club. They did not get a grade for writing these essays. They did not get extra. They might have got some candy, but we worked on their essays during our club time. We went and picked up recycling throughout the building. Then we came back and worked on their essays. And they all did a good job. I was super happy that FCS cleared the board in the district competition. So that was fantastic. So also part of this program, there's an elementary part of the program that has posters, K through 5. And then there's a high school portion as well. But 7th and 8th grade are unique that they have a public speaking portion, which obviously has prepared me to get up here as a teacher and do this. Because, I won it in 7th grade. So I have my 8th grade first place winner is Elizabeth Bass. And my 7th grade first place winner of the speech contest was not able to be with us tonight. They were traveling. But this lady not only won for FCS for our school, she also won to represent our district for McDowell County. She also won to represent our area for Western North Carolina, and she went to the state competition in Raleigh.
Oh, congratulations.
Super proud of both she and Emily. We actually, both of them did. They were both our 7th grade and our 8th grade representative, not only for FCS and McDowell County, but also for the Western region. So super proud of these ladies. They did a great job. And I'm not sure we didn't visit North Carolina State. We drove by it. We sat across the road from North Carolina State University. So we didn't drive by it, but I'm not sure. But they were impressed with Raleigh in general. We went to the agriculture building, so that was nice. But yeah, super proud of these girls.
Miss Elizabeth Bass.
Congratulations. You're gonna give us all some coaching on public speaking.
She said she didn't want to speak. I think she popped out. And Miss Cassandra
Go
Perez.
up in there and they can get your picture.
Congratulations. Great job. Keep up the great work.
Next up, Miss Britta Gramer. Here. Hi there. I'm Britta Gramer, and my competition club was Future City. We also culminated at NC State University in January. So a little bit about this competition. It asks the students to utilize the engineering design process. They are to design a city 100 years in the future. And they wanted to demonstrate, obviously, innovative solutions. Before they get to the solutions, the students are given a challenge or a problem, something that currently plagues urban areas globally. These problems ask the students to not only look at the infrastructure, but the geology of the area or the geography, the climate, the resources available, demographics. The problem changes every year. This year's challenge asked the students to design a city that would be resilient to climate change. They had to utilize one mitigation strategy as well as one adaptation strategy. So that's where you begin. We began in September, and the students always start by researching. We always start by figuring out what is this problem really, what is the problem? What does that mean? We had to really dig in there. What is a mitigation strategy? What is an adaptation strategy? So the students decided to pick a city that currently exists and that currently is experiencing some of these impacts of climate change. And we chose Del Rio, Texas. So once they did that, they come up with their solutions for this city. They collaboratively write a 1,500-word essay, and we submit that around November. So that is the basis. That's a problem solution paper describing this future city. From there, they build a 3D scaled model. They prepare a 7-minute presentation for a panel of judges. They also prepare for a series of Q&A. Mid-January, we went to Raleigh. The students presented. They also spent the time when they had their floor model on display taking a series, and I do mean a series of Q&A. Am I correct, Future City people? They would have roving groups of judges coming around, and these people are architects, engineers, city planners. So they are just asking them questions. So the award that our students got was a specialty award, and we got the most data-informed city based on their adaptation strategy. It was their weatherscape, and so it would take data locally and combine it with world data, but it used a series of past, present, and future and some AI workings, and it would constantly monitor their use of the water around that area. Their new city, they changed it from Del Rio, Texas to Del Resiliente, meaning of the resilient. So this was a team of 6 people, and they do the work of about 20. So I want to acknowledge a few of our folks aren't here. So Stephen Deerhold was unable to make it, Annika Stockton unable to make it, and Taylor Massengill unable to make it. However, we have Jaya John. We have Hank Johnson and Adela Smith. So Jaya, this is actually her second year competing, and then it's the first year for these 2 friends here. So I know I didn't tell you to have to say any, but if you feel led to just say anything about it, you can, or correct anything I might have said wrong.
Future Cities was an amazing opportunity to learn new information about climate change, and I forgot what last year's was. I think it was a waste problem last year. I think I had textile waste to deal with last year, so I would make on the city model last year. I made buildings and basically just put old clothes all over them, but they still looked really cool. It was a really great way to learn a lot of things about just climate change and global warming and a lot of stuff that I didn't know. And I really liked the opportunity, and I'm really disappointed that as an 8th grader I can't do it again since it's only a middle school thing. But I was really happy that I got the opportunity to do it.
Hi, my name is Hank Johnson. I was a member of the Future Cities team for Foothills, and I really liked it because it aligns perfectly with what our school is about. Our school generally focuses on STEAM education, which stands for science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And Future Cities perfectly aligned with that. You know, from the sciences of how climate change works to the technology of how you mitigate it and stop it from happening. And engineering, obviously you use the engineering process to figure out what you're going to do to help the city mitigate itself from climate change. Along with art, art actually had a lot to do with our city and the culture and just sort of ethics behind everything. And math. Yeah.
Nice.
Future Cities was like a really fun experience. When it first started, it was like writing, more writing, then a little more writing, then just a little bit more writing. But then it got to the really fun part where we actually got to plan out and build the city, which was tons of fun, and it was really hands-on, which made it even funner. And then we went to Raleigh, and we drove, and it was like, oh, we're having a good time. And then we went to Dave & Buster's, which was really fun. And then you get to the competition, you're like, oh yeah, this is what I was here for. But probably the most fun part for me was the skit and how you would introduce it. And we did a game show called Do You Know Your City? And that was like so fun. So really great experience.
Oh, nice.
You can add something while I'm getting this.
One of the reasons we also won for best data use, I think it was, we also had something literally called a data lantern, and it was kind of like the weatherscape like Miss Gramer was talking about, but it was quite literally like all the data in the world, along with AI and a lot of other really interesting pieces of information. And I'll really miss this competition. It was amazing.
Jai.
Good job, Jai.
Hank Johnson. Official. And I'm going to hold Adela here for a second, and I'm going to ask Nicholas Newman to come up and Amanda Lynn Norton. Because these students also participated in the Global Amazing Shake competition. They did the county competition for the Amazing Shake. Several of you, I believe, participated in the judging of that. It works on their communication skills. They're able to speak to anybody about anything at any time. And so these students went to Atlanta to the Global Amazing Shake and placed in the top 50 out of 250 global participants. So wow. Adela Smith was also on that group.
Oh, nice.
You're going to go right over there. Right there. You have another one, Adela. Hold up. Yeah, you get this one too. If you have lost space on this.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Can take her home.
Amanda Lynn, do you wish to speak? Amanda Lynn does not wish to speak, but Nicholas would like to.
So with this amazing shake, I was able to learn a lot of good communication skills, among with talking to people that I didn't know or never even heard of or imagined myself talking to. So I was just glad I was able to learn all these helpful skills that will take me far in life.
Yes, he did.
We are trying to hurry, I promise. There's
Sharp
so much
too.
good things to say.
No, don't rush.
Can I get the teachers really quick because they're being awarded for something as well? Miss Petite, she led our grant writing team for our Facebook Community Action Grant, and she's going to tell you a little bit about that.
Nice. So we wrote a grant. It's called Meta, I believe now, not Facebook, but it was a $20,000 grant, and we got it. It's a community action grant. We're going to make a mobile STEM lab, and our goal is to train our students to go into the elementary schools and to teach the elementary students STEM activities. And that will create a continual cycle of opportunities, not only for the elementary students, but also for our students, because not only will our kids be engaged in STEM activities, but they're also going to be in leadership roles that's going to help them, later in life. I'm a math teacher. I'm not a grant writer. What I wanted to put on the grant, the team wouldn't let me. It's probably a good thing we didn't. But when you look at these kids, they're worth it. So I will continue to write grants, fundraise, beg, do whatever it takes so that our kids don't miss out on any opportunities that the other schools in other counties and charter schools and private schools. Because when those Science Olympiad teams went to Raleigh, that petite one, that's mine. It was private schools they were going up against and charter schools that they were going up against. And there was a group from East. They had to, in McDowell County, let me tell you something. In one category, McDowell took 2 top 10 finishes, the East team and the FCS team. And we need to be proud, and we need to support these kids whatever means necessary. You guys are worth it.
So on that team was, of course, Miss Petite. Oh, I get you get one. Miss Casey Lowry, she is our bookkeeper and data manager, and she's a grant writer now as well.
Thank you.
Sandra Gunter. She really is. Our teacher of the year. Our wonderful counselor, Miss Katie McFarland. And our CTE business teacher, Miss Tasha Ramsey. Thank you so much for letting us celebrate our wonderful group. I appreciate it.
Okay, so we want to get a photo of all the staff members, and then we want to get a photo with all the students with them.
I really think Ms. Elliott, the principal of Foothills Community, deserves some appreciation and some love for allowing her staff to stretch themselves so that their students can grow too. Don't you?
Yeah, get the kids.
I'll stand beside you. I'll stand. Kids, stand in front of your teachers. There you go. Get right in front of them.
Yes.
Yeah, you'll be right.
And then just the kiddos.
Proud of you, Hank.
Okay, before everybody maybe starts to leave, that's what seems to happen sometimes. Just to reiterate, piggyback off of Miss Petite, which is an absolute honor to piggyback off of anything that she says. I just want you guys to know on behalf of myself and to speak for my board colleagues, when we talk about all that's good in public education, you are it. You guys, I think as a classroom teacher, I never had any kids to say, gee, I'd love to do that again, because they didn't want to, So to hear you say it was all worth it and I would go and do it again is such an example of the resilience that we see in public schools every day. And it is the reason we're coming off of a season where we've done three graduations already,
So far.
a fourth one tomorrow, and it is the culmination of everything that we do. And we would not be a board if we did not have dedicated students and dedicated staff that go in every day and prove to the rest of the world that public schools are worth fighting for. And so I want to thank you. I want to thank your parents, and I just want to thank you for what you mean to me, but also to all of us, because this is why we do what we do. And we will keep fighting every day to get what they deserve.
Yes.
I want to say thank you too. That was absolutely great. You all are rock stars. If we had one more award, I'd like to give it to Nicholas Newman. That is the best looking jacket I've ever seen. And I'm jealous. I'm going to find that. So, yeah, just a little smaller. I would borrow it from you. But congratulations. You guys do rock, and keep up the good work. You make us all very, very proud.
Yes.
Since we're all speaking. One of the things that I saw over and over and over again, there's a skill that is hard to teach, but is exceptionally important for success in adulthood that I saw consistently displayed this evening, and that's critical thinking. Yeah. And what you are learning, and it feels like fun to you, which is fantastic teaching, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it is a skill that those people who have the greatest amount of success in our society, it's a skill that they've mastered, and that's critical thinking. And so the fact that our instructors, our teachers are ensuring that's a part of our curriculum, our principals are making sure that their teachers are making sure it's a part of our curriculum. First of all, to teachers, congratulations, because that's a skill that's important, and we just saw it right there. And students, you may not get this yet, but one day you'll see the difference between those in our culture and our society who think critically and those who don't. And the fact that you're getting this skill now is a huge advantage that you have over those who aren't getting it. And so you're very, very blessed. You're very, very lucky. And as Miss Silver said, we're proud of the work that's happening here in McDowell County School Systems, and that is a representation of that great work. So thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
We'll move along then. Item 8 on the agenda is recognitions, and have a gentleman standing here to my right that we need to recognize this evening. This is Mr. Brian Oliver. He was formerly, well, let me back up and give you the history. He came to us some years ago, and he was the Human Resources Director. And then he became an Assistant Superintendent / Human Resources Director. And then he became an Assistant Superintendent to Mr. Garrett. And in Mr. Garrett's absence, Mr. Oliver stepped in, and the board named him as our interim just a little over 1 year ago tonight. And for the last year, this gentleman here has kept the lid from blowing off the pot, so to speak. This gentleman here has made sure that everyone had their needs met and their issues addressed. And so, sir, this evening, as the board will welcome a new incoming superintendent at next month's meeting, this is Mr. Oliver's last official meeting as interim superintendent. The Board of Education for McDowell County Public Schools wants to acknowledge your commitment and your dedication, not only to the board, but staff, students, and families in the community. Sir, we salute you. We have this nice keepsake here. And someone else, this is going to be like putting a Christmas present back in the box after you open it. The board's appreciation for service to Brian T. Oliver, interim superintendent, July 2022, June 2023. Thanks again.
So I had a lot of notice on this happening tonight. I actually asked Mr. English if I could sit down, and he said no. That's when I found out. Sir, thank you for the far too kind words. They are very much appreciated.
And they're very much deserved.
I would just like to say that I arrived in McDowell County Schools Labor Day weekend, the Tuesday after Labor Day in 2013. September 3rd. And I came here as the Executive Director of Administration, which was human resources and whatever else the superintendent wanted me to do. And what a role. And it was definitely a vertical learning curve for me. I had a great time. I came here, I'd been a principal for 13 years, but this was my first opportunity to work at the district level. And the first thing I learned right away was we had a great team. Our staff, our principals, all the way down to our custodians, our cafeteria staff, our office staff at every school, every site, our bus drivers, every role that you can think of in the district, our folks work together, and we have great people in those roles. And one thing I've always tried to remind folks is that we don't have any role that's not important. If it's not important, we shouldn't be funding it. And so that's how I know it's important, because we don't have extra money. And every person in this district works hard to do what's best for students. And that's what we always have to stay focused on. It's what we're doing best for students. And I truly believe that the folks that we have in McDowell County Schools, that is their goal. When I got promoted to assistant superintendent, at that point I figured, well, this is awesome. I'm gonna finish out my time here in McDowell County Schools, and in January of 2024, I'm gonna retire and ride off into the sunset, and Mr. Garrett will still be here making things happen. And but that changed, and I surely didn't expect that to change, but it did. And I appreciate the confidence of the board allowing me to serve as your interim superintendent for the past year. I still plan to ride off into the sunset in January of 24. Better knock on wood, because you never know, things change. But I'm so thankful for the almost 10 years that I've had. Labor Day weekend will be 10 years here with McDowell County Schools. I'm thankful for all of those years. I'm thankful for each opportunity I've had. I'm truly thankful for all the great people that I've had the chance to work with. And all I can say is thank you. Keep up the great work.
Hear, hear.
Mr. Chairman, could I say something?
You
to
certainly
Mr.
may.
Oliver?
Okay.
Go ahead, sir. Get your picture made.
No, let's.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Mr. Oliver, as one veteran to another veteran, it is an honor to follow somebody that's truly a leader. And I'm going to tell you, we joked a little bit about parade rest and about at ease, but you definitely have command presence whenever you present yourself tonight or any other night. And I want to tell you this. I know that you've really had some tough times, not necessarily in schools, but in the Marine Corps, and I appreciate you for that. And what this group doesn't realize here that did this thing on Del Rio, Texas, that's one of the worst places an Air Force person can get stationed. They learn to fly there, and it's they don't like it. But we're glad you liked it here, sir. And I'm going to tell you, I appreciate being a veteran, you passing along to us your command presence and your leadership. And I'm going to tell you, because of your leadership and the things you've done, you kept our school system as great as it can be during this past year. And I personally appreciate that. Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks, sir. We had great people.
So the board, for its archives and perhaps in one of those future cities, would appreciate being able to stand with you and have our photo taken.
Yes, sir. That'd be great.
We'd like to have our picture made with you.
Yeah.
I should have dressed up.
Sure.
My brother-in-law was a pilot in the Air Force, and he took his training there. I was in the Air Force as well. No, thank you, sir. You can do great.
You did well, buddy. Stay behind the camera. I want to say one thing right now while I'm holding this. Every time that I received an award in the Marine Corps, the last time was as a colonel, so there's a lot of people involved. And I always said, 10,000 sailors and Marines and I earned this. So here in McDowell County Schools, 1,100 educators and support staff earned this. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, sir.
No, you're fine. My big feet, though.
I was trying to get the video. Sorry about that.
We're good.
Moving along with the meeting then, item 9 is correspondence. And has any correspondence been received? No correspondence this evening. Item 10 is request to address the board public comment. Do we have any requests to address the board this evening? Okay, all right. So we can move along to item 11, which is unfinished business. And Mr. Oliver, would you like to lead us in that sub-item?
Yes, sir. So I know folks have seen a lot of the earth moving work behind the West McDowell Middle School softball field, and that's the site of the new tennis courts. And that project is moving along, and I will be bringing to the Building and Grounds Committee a change order for their information. But the changes that are being made will not incur any additional cost. In fact, the changes will actually result in some savings on the project, but the location of the courts and the building are going to shift slightly because it's the ground that's in place at the site of the two retaining walls is not living up to standards for a retaining wall. So those retaining walls have to be eliminated. And so the courts are shifting and the building is shifting. The result of that is the loss of some parking spaces, but it won't take anything away from obviously the court space or the building itself. The road will have to be widened slightly toward the current bank, and that's also to avoid having a retaining wall on the slope below the road going down to the courts. But everything is moving forward as it should. That is a change order that we can easily approve since it does not incur any additional costs. I also wanted to give you an update. There was some question about whether the multi-purpose field, which is a synthetic turf field that will take the place of the current tennis court location, would be ready in time for fall sports practice. And I received assurance today from one of the top folks. I think he's the COO of Geo Surfaces, and he assured me, he said, I promise you that you will be on that practice field by 31 July at the very latest, and possibly before that. So, and that's our goal, just to have that field available, since the old practice field is being turned into tennis courts. Right. So that's important. So that's the update I have right now. The project is moving forward, and again, at this time, there's no additional costs that we're looking at. It should actually be some savings when it all comes through.
Very good. Mr. Sellers, you're chair of the building grounds. Anything you need to add?
No, you covered it all.
All right, thank you. So we'll move on to item 12, which is new business. And we'd like to welcome Mr. John Haynes, our Child Nutrition Services Director, to the podium to cover the annual food and beverage renewal part, and also to talk about the community eligibility provision. So, Mr. Haynes, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me? Okay. Sorry. It feels a little bit awkward. I'm used to it being like this.
Well, you can turn it.
I'll try to adapt. So I want to be cognizant of everybody's time tonight, but if you'll forgive me for going ahead and reading this off, because I want to make sure that I cover all my bases here. First off, we're going to do the food and supply bids. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to look over that in your board packets. So I'm just going to read off of here. The school nutrition program evaluates all previously awarded distributors and vendors that supply our program annually. Per school nutrition bid language, our bids may be renewed annually up to 4 years if it is considered to be the best interest of the program. Several factors outlined in our locally approved procurement plan are utilized in deciding to roll over or renew an annual bid. Factors such as price, service, and overall quality are the fundamental reasons for recommending a bid renewal. It is my recommendation that the McDowell County Schools Board of Education renew the following contracts based on those said factors. Milk would be awarded to Pet Dairy, and the beverages would be also renewed by Pepsi. That's our online sales and our vending at the schools. In addition to those recommendations for renewals, it's also necessary to seek approval for new bids that do not qualify for renewal. For 23-24 school year, the school nutrition program held new bid openings for groceries, supplies, produce, and ice cream. And based on those results of the new bids, I'm recommending that McDowell County Board of Education accept recommendation for the following bidders: groceries, U.S. Foods Fort Mill; supplies, would also be U.S. Foods Fort Mill. Cisco Charlotte actually had won the supply bid by a fairly narrow margin, but in our bid language, we also give them, since it's such a small amount, the option to decline that bid. They did decline that bid, so we'll be getting all those on one truck, which is way better. Produce would be awarded to P&R Produce, and ice cream is a new distributor for us. WNC Ice Cream, they were a sole bidder on that line item as well. But we had some issues this year with our ice cream, which was a pet supplier, but they're getting out of the ice cream business. So the downsides to this is this distributor does not supply ice cream boxes. And so in talking with Pet, they agreed to basically donate those ice cream boxes that we have in those schools right now, which is a huge savings for us. We should be good to go with ice cream this year. I don't know if anyone had heard some of our trials and tribulations with ice cream, but we should be in good shape this year.
Mr. Haynes, just to make sure I'm following along, ice cream boxes, those are the coolers?
Yes,
Thank
sorry.
you.
It's the merchandisers, the freezers that the students.
Thank you. That's just my ignorance. Thank you.
Well, you have to have ice cream super cold, and our walk-in freezers are really not sufficient. Plus, you have to be able to merchandise it. So sorry
Thanks,
for that.
I appreciate it.
You were not the only one. Like they come in boxes of 8 or 12.
Like, yeah. And they're giving it to us. That's so nice. What color are those
I'll
boxes?
make a note
Are they
to
blue?
be more specific.
Are they? That's right.
So, Mr. Haynes, then you need a motion to approve rollover renewal bids, and included in that motion would be awarding the new bids.
That's correct.
All right. Is there someone that would feel comfortable making that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Suttles.
I'll second it.
And Ms. Pupo makes the second. Is there any discussion, further questions?
Yeah, I do have a question.
Sir.
I noticed that company was out of Morganton with ice cream.
Yes, sir.
But it looks like you're gonna have basically the same ice cream. Is that correct?
From what I understand, most all of the ice cream come from two major facilities, so there shouldn't be a ton of product variance in this bid. So yes.
And I also noticed that part of their bid was that they would not keep up coolers if something happened.
That's because they do not have them to offer us. So we do have a plan in place to start looking at buying new merchandising ice cream boxes, just so that we're able to, because some of them are actually getting poor shape anyway. So, but they're still very expensive. Yes, so. Sir. We do have a plan in place to try to replace a couple of those per year.
Yes, sir. The only reason I asked that, I saw that and I thought, boy, those kids don't have ice cream. They're gonna be ripped.
It's one of our biggest sellers. So especially this time of the year. So.
Yes, I believe that. My son has one of those, an account, and by golly, he goes through that fast. And when I ask him, what are you buying? He's like, yeah, I was buying ice cream for me and my friends. I was like, that's not how I intended you spend this. But,
I share that same story.
They want ice cream.
That's right.
All right. Any further discussion, clarification, questions?
Well, I'm excited to see that we are able to use a local vendor for our produce with P&R Produce. So that's really exciting. So.
Okay. All right. Anything else? If not, then all in favor of the motion? And the motion carries unanimously, and the bids are renewed and approved. Next, Mr. Haynes, you want to talk to us about the community eligibility provision?
Yes, sir, I will. I think rather than my mind was not on a discussion as much as it was a celebration or an announcement. Oh. And I don't know exactly what Ms. Rampy was able to share with the board, but I did want to make sure that I was able to announce what our intentions are. We've notified NCDPI of our intentions to go with CEP, the Community Eligibility Provision, and essentially that is just an alternate way for us to claim reimbursement for the meals that we serve. And the huge upside to being able to go to CEP would be that whatever schools that we group together would not be, we'd be able to serve those students, all students at each one of those schools at no cost, and that would be breakfast and lunch. And I can't tell Miss Rampy enough how much I appreciate her time coming and working with me to try to crunch some numbers. And there's actually a Excel document that they send out where they try to make it easier, but I have a propensity to overthink everything. So just a little bit. So as we were working with that tool, and I kept adding schools that I felt like were going to be eligible based on their identified student percentage, which is students who qualify for a free or reduced lunch without a paper application, whether it's some type of assistance, food stamps, etc. We continued to start adding schools, and all of our schools were potentially eligible, and so I added the high school, and we started looking at the numbers, and it looks like we should be safely able to say that we can do CEP at all schools this year.
All right.
So instead of having the dubious role of asking for meal price increase or reestablishing meal prices, I'm announcing that all children will eat at no cost this year.
That's breakfast and lunch.
That's breakfast and lunch.
All right, great.
I remember the meeting last year where the absolute pain on your face of having to ask for any type of increase, and just how painstakingly your office worked and how much to heart he took that. And so again, thank you for that. Thank you for what you do, and all of us once again know, hungry kids can't learn, and so to make sure that all of our kids are going to get to eat and they're going to be fed. Breakfast and lunch is huge. And so thank you so much to you and your team for that. And Suzanne, as always, thanks again for crunching. So thank you, John.
Thank you.
Mr. Haynes, congratulations. Like what that tells us again, and we see this in you over and over and over again, is that you are a problem solver. That, as Ms. Silver said, last year you came before us and it was obvious that you were pained the fact that our students had to pay for their lunches. And we heard it from the community too. It was a hardship this past year for a lot of the families in our community to be able to do this. And what I am hearing is that you saw this as a problem, as an issue, and you went to work to finding a solution for our families and our kids in this county. And I want to congratulate you on that and say thank you very much for your hard work.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I would like to add that when we looked at these numbers, we had we went 2 years on the pandemic provision where we were able to serve all of our students at no cost. And we had a huge increase in participation. And it only made sense that it would decline when we reestablished meal prices, particularly as much as we had to go to offset, all of our costs. But I was looking at the numbers again today because now we're completely finished with school. And, it should save families, paying families in McDowell County, somewhere in the neighborhood of $400,000 to $450,000 this year. So the Haynes family is appreciative too. So, but yeah, that's pretty big numbers, and the board gives me a lot of courage to be able to do the things that we do on the school nutrition side. And, you know, with us continuing not knowing where we were going to be each year financially, to offer breakfast at no cost to our students, you know, that in itself is, for our paying students or families, that's a savings of $150,000 a year right there, that school nutrition program is eating that cost. And I think it's a worthy investment, and particularly if we can, you know, stay in the black or as close to it as we can. So I appreciate all the support from the board as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we need an action?
No, we don't need an action on that.
No.
Thank you, John. Great job.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Crystal Hamby is going to cover the adoption of the reading curriculum for the coming years. And take it away, Crystal Hamby.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, Chairman English, members of the board, Mr. Oliver. I stand before you on the behalf of the District CNI team Curriculum Instruction, K-8 school administrators, and our district literacy team to request the approval to adopt a new K-8 reading program. This program represents an exciting opportunity to transform literacy instruction and significantly impact the academic success of our students. Proficiency in reading lays the foundation for success in all subject areas, equips students with the tools they need to become lifelong learners. The administrative team has spent the last year and a half reviewing 6 reading curriculums with input from our district literacy team. After careful review, the administrative team narrowed the choices to 3 curriculums. These curriculums were reviewed with a critical eye by all of our grade level teachers. A systemic rubric was used to evaluate all the components outlined in the science of reading. Certified teachers were surveyed twice, with a 97% majority selecting the McGraw-Hill Wonders curriculum for K-5, K-5 Maravillas for the Splash program at Eastville Global Magnet, and Study Sync for 6-8 middle school students. These programs are designed to meet the needs of diverse learners, our students, including those of special needs, English language learners, and gifted students. It incorporates differentiated instruction and supports the multi-tiered system of support and provides a range of resources to address the individual needs of every student. This program will empower our teachers to implement effective and engaging reading instruction and provide our students with the support they need to thrive. Financially, adopting these programs requires an initial investment, but it is important to recognize the long-term benefits and cost savings that can be realized. By equipping our students with strong reading skills early on, we can mitigate the needs for costly interventions and remediation in the future. Tonight, I am seeking approval for the district to spend up to $570,000 for a new K-8 reading curriculum built on the science of reading. The amount is still being negotiated currently and is expected to be less than the amount of this request. So at this time, I'm requesting board action for the approval to spend up to $570,000 for McGraw-Hill K-8 curriculum. And I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Ms. Silver is chair of the board's curriculum and instruction committee. Anything you'd like to add or give perspective on?
I just appreciate the work that our administrative staff and our teaching staff have done to like you say, go over these curriculums with a fine-tooth comb. And they are definitely the experts, and we are definitely not the experts. And so we definitely appreciate the recommendation that you're making. And at this time, Mr. English, I would like to enter a motion that we grant the request to spend up to $570,000 and to give Mr. Oliver signing privileges on that once the contract is presented.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor to approve. Is there a second to the motion?
Second, Mr.
Mr. Shuford makes the second. So now we can begin the discussion. Is there any discussion, questions, clarifications?
One thing to be clarified that we talked extensively about at our meeting was that this program will work very well with the letters training that our staff has already gone through, and also Orton Gillingham that's put into place for the phonetic components. And I think that's going to be a welcomed part of this program for our staff.
Ms. Hamby, one question I had was how long will this reading curriculum adoption be good for? I mean,
3 years.
3 years. So
Yes, sir.
the board will need to, the curriculum and instruction folks will need to tackle this again in 3 years.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
All right. Any further questions? Comments? Discussion? If not, then all in favor of the motion to approve? And the motion carries unanimously.
I appreciate you all. Thank you so
Ms.
much.
Handy, and
Ms. Hamby.
relay our thanks
Thank
to
you, sir.
all the folks that were so diligent.
Thank you. And we will keep you in the loop once we have final contract negotiation.
Sure, and
Thank
you
you.
will report to us the final cost.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on the agenda is under new business is the retirement resolution, and this is always a special time for the board and the district as well.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, Vice Chair, members of the board, honored guests, it's my privilege to share with you tonight the retirement resolution from the McDowell County Board of Education. But before I do, one of our longest serving retirees, Ms. Willie Mae Ledbetter, passed away last week. And I know Ms. Silver and many other retirees have known Ms. Ledbetter for many, many years. And I had the privilege to meet her and had some really great conversations with her while she was still with us. But I'd just like to share a few words about Ms. Ledbetter, as she is one of the longest serving retirees that we've had in McDowell County Schools. It is with a heavy heart that we inform you of the passing of one of our longtime staff members, Ms. Willie Mae Ledbetter, who passed away last week after an extended period of illness. We are deeply saddened by this loss of our longtime colleague and friend. Ms. Ledbetter was first hired in McDowell County Schools as a classroom teacher in August 1975. Wow. There's a few people that might remember that. She spent her entire career in McDowell County Schools as a teacher at West McDowell Junior High and then West McDowell Middle School. She retired from West Middle as a 7th grade math teacher in June 2015, with almost 40 years of service to the students and families of McDowell County Schools. That's an accomplishment. As a retiree, Ms. Ledbetter remained committed to McDowell County Schools in various roles. She served at different times as a substitute teacher, tutor, and interim teacher from 2016 to 2021. We don't know the arrangements yet. Please keep Ms. Ledbetter's family and all of her former colleagues and students in your thoughts and prayers. Sir, thank you for allowing me to share that.
Yes, sir.
So now it gives me great pleasure to share with you this year's Board of Education retirement resolution. Whereas teaching and service to students are of the highest calling, and whereas personnel who have served diligently have retired from the profession. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the McDowell County Board of Education, on behalf of students, parents, and colleagues, express gratitude and appreciation to the retired personnel listed below for their dedication and efforts exerted in the cause of public education. This, the 12th day of June, 2023. And names are in alphabetical order. Darren Benfield, Debbie Biddix, Burton Blankenship, Paige Brown, Patty Buchanan, Diane Kate, Tim Connor, Barbara Davis, Dawn Elliott, Sherry Glenn, Kim Green, Jody Griffin, Cindy Guadarrama, Kimberly Gundle, Donna Hyatt, Billy Highland, Leah Jordan, Mary Loudermilk, Kim Leatherman, Charlie Mae Mace, Pam Martin, Chief Jeff McClure, Cynthia Newton, Rodney Slagle, Beverly Smith, Amanda Spivey, Catherine Sprinkle, Glenda Starr, Grace Thomas, Stanley Vess, Elaine Waters, and Christine Welker. Please give these folks a round of applause.
All right. Again, thanks to the dedication of the staff here.
I'll make a motion that we accept that into the minutes.
All right. Mr. Frank makes a motion to record the resolution in the minutes. Is there a second to that
I'll second
motion?
that.
Ms. Mumal makes the second. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor? And the motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next on under new businesses, board reports, and the board did hold a day-long retreat in Little Switzerland on June 1st, and it was a long day and a busy day and lots of information. One of the reasons was so that the board could receive the same training that we have instructed our attorney to offer to school administrators over this summer. And of course, the training was tailored more towards the board's responsibility as the law relates to bullying, harassment, and discrimination. So that was worthwhile and stimulating. And then we moved along, and we heard a very in-depth and concise report from our staff folks on student services, and that was a nice segue because it presented information that I wasn't aware of, and I'm sure probably other board members weren't as well. And so we spent the rest of the afternoon identifying those 3 or 4 main things that the board wanted to most focus their attention toward and wanted the superintendent to help the board focus closely on. And those things were universal pre-K, behavior and discipline, teacher recruitment and retention, and under behavior and discipline, a subheading was mental health support for students. And what was the other thing, Ms. Mumal? You were leading that. Was that it?
That's it.
Okay.
Top 3. Those are the top 3. We had 7 altogether, but those are the top 3.
Right. Now that didn't mean that other things aren't important, but it just means that the board wants that to be our focus for this coming year, and want the superintendent to help us guide that towards a resolution. I want to thank all of you again for giving up an entire day of work or leisure to come and educate yourself on the needs of our district here. And I also want to thank our staff for the hard work they put into coming up with the information that the board requested. So that is my report. Are there others? Head Start, curriculum instruction, ROTC, any others?
Sorry, I just have a connection point for those on the policy committee. We need to schedule one coming up soon. So before we leave today, if we can take a look at our schedules, and we've been offered a few days that will work with Mr. Oliver and Ms. Smith. And so we'll if you can stay for a few minutes or make sure that we get that on the schedule, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any others?
Yeah, and for buildings and grounds, the same thing. We want to be proactive if Mr. Oliver comes to us for that meeting for those change of orders. So maybe look at Friday or Monday of next week, because we don't want to hinder their construction process. So if Mr. Oliver calls us, we'll need to meet Ms. Beaumont and Mr. Schufrin. I talked to Terry already about it. So just see what your schedule is like on Friday or next Monday, because I imagine that's probably when the change of order is going to come, possibly.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Anything from ROTC, Mr.
No,
Frank?
it's transition.
Right. Okay. All right. Item 13 then is approval of the consent agenda, and as is board custom, any item may be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. So does anyone care to have one of the items you see listed there removed and discussed separately? If not, then is there a motion to approve the consent?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as printed.
Mr. Frank makes the motion.
Second.
Ms. Mumal makes the second. Any discussion? Okay. Just one point of clarification. If you do have an individual question about the audit contract, our finance officer does have the contract that she can go over with you. So if there's no further discussion, no questions, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, and the motion carries unanimously. Item 14 is the board would ask for a motion to move into closed session pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11 for the following purposes. Under subsection A1, to prevent the disclosure of privileged or confidential student information, and under subsection A1, to prevent the disclosure of privileged or confidential personnel information. All right. Is there a motion then to go into closed session for those reasons?
So moved.
Ms. Poupeau makes the motion.
I'll second.
Ms. Helms makes the second. Any discussion? All right. So for those reasons, I'm asking for you to approve, and all in favor of the motion? Okay. So the motion carries unanimously, and the board will move into closed session and discuss those matters. All right.